It's not an office dedicated to prosecution like Jack Smith's special counsel. The term refers to an organization responsible for enforcing laws related to federal workers. It's an important position, but Donald Trump doesn't want Hampton Dinger in that role. He doesn't want independent watchdogs, and he doesn't want anyone serving a 5-year term under his watch, so he fired him without cause. The issue is that by firing him without cause, he violated due process rights. Dinger was highly qualified for the position. If you were looking for an ethical, trustworthy individual to fill that role, you'd want someone who behaves just like Hampton Dinger. Trump's legal team recently presented an argument in the Supreme Court that is one of the most absurd claims ever made. They argued that a president could order the military to stage a coup and could not be prosecuted. They claimed presidents can commit crimes without facing consequences. Even the conservative justices could not accept this argument. When asked about a scenario where a president could sell presidential pardons for $1 million each, Trump's lawyer awkwardly avoided answering. The justices even laughed out loud at times. This ruling serves as a reality check for someone who seems to think laws don't apply to him. The United States Supreme Court has ruled against Donald Trump and his attempts to remove Hampton Dinger from the head of the Office of Special Counsel. Dinger had recently been appointed by President Biden to serve a 5-year term. Trump's legal team went before the Supreme Court with an argument claiming that a president could essentially do anything, including committing crimes while in office. They suggested that presidents are immune from prosecution, even for serious crimes. The justices quickly dismissed this theory, questioning whether a president could sell nuclear secrets or order political assassinations without facing consequences. Trump's lawyer avoided these questions, clearly uncomfortable. In legal terms, a temporary restraining order is only in effect for a short time, about 5 days in this case. After that, the courts of appeal typically have jurisdiction. When asked if a president could take bribes for ambassadorships, Trump's lawyers avoided giving a direct answer. They kept using terms like "it depends" or "that's hypothetical," essentially dodging the questions that exposed the flaws in their argument. The legal team attempted to frame criminal acts as part of official presidential duties, suggesting that if Trump committed a crime while president, it would be acceptable. They even claimed that if Trump decided to sell Camp David to Russia and kept the money, it would be legal since it was done while he was president. Chief Justice Roberts played a key role in this case. He was the one who decided to bring the emergency application to the full Supreme Court instead of handling it alone. His decision to involve the entire court reflects the significance of cases involving Trump and his administration. Out of the 9 justices on the panel, Justice Sotomayor appeared visibly exhausted during the proceedings. Her expression seemed to convey frustration, as if questioning the value of her legal education in this situation. At one point, she asked Attorney Sauer if a president could be prosecuted for accepting a bribe to issue a pardon. Sauer's response was filled with vague qualifiers and evasions, making it seem like he was trying to avoid the direct answer. It was almost like watching someone come up with excuses for why they hadn't taken out the trash without admitting they were simply being negligent. The situation grew even stranger when the justices pressed Sauer on whether a president could order SEAL Team 6 to target political opponents. Trump's legal team struggled to draw a clear line on this, failing to offer a direct no to the question. Instead of a simple rejection, there were awkward pauses and convoluted explanations. It seemed as though in Trump's administration, ordering military action against opponents might be interpreted as a matter of national security. As the justices continued to push, the questions became more outlandish, creating a surreal atmosphere for Trump's lawyers. One justice even asked if a president could order a coup or sell pardons. With each question, Sauer's responses became more tangled, to the point where it seemed impossible for him to answer without further complicating his position. Even the justices appointed by Trump weren't convinced by his arguments. They appeared to remember that their duty was to uphold the Constitution, not to serve the whims of an individual who believed the law could be shaped however he wished. Justice Kavanaugh, who had previously benefited from Trump's defense during his confirmation hearings, questioned the idea of presidential immunity. Justice Kagan raised concerns about whether a president could personally benefit from foreign governments seeking favors, referring to Trump's foreign business dealings while in office. Sauer's response to this was unclear, suggesting that impeachment was the only remedy, despite the fact that impeachment has never led to a conviction in American history. Throughout the hearing, Trump's lawyers repeatedly argued that granting presidents unchecked power would not result in authoritarian rule. Meanwhile, the justices seemed incredulous, asking questions that highlighted the absurdity of their claims. It was less a legal debate and more like a mock trial, as if Trump's legal team was trying out for a position in a foreign dictatorship's justice system. Just when it seemed like the legal arguments couldn't become more bizarre, Sauer pushed the limits further, presenting a case for presidential immunity that felt increasingly detached from reality. He suggested that if a president were to commit murder, they would face no consequences unless Congress first impeached and convicted them. His exact words were, "If there's no impeachment and no conviction, then official acts are immune." The justices' reactions were a mixture of confusion, disbelief, and restraint. Some appeared horrified, while others seemed to be fighting the urge to laugh. One justice even asked if a president could use military force to target California simply because it voted for a particular party. You might think any reasonable lawyer would immediately reject this idea, but Trump's legal team struggled to provide a direct answer, as doing so would undermine their entire argument for immunity. The proceedings began to feel less like a serious legal argument and more like a comedy show. The justices' incredulity continued to grow as they asked more hypothetical questions that highlighted the absurdity of the claims. Trump's legal team, however, appeared genuinely surprised when the justices didn't immediately accept their arguments. Every time Sauer spoke, it seemed as though the Constitution itself was being stretched beyond recognition. He tried to expand the definition of official acts to include nearly anything a president could do, from ordering military action against Congress to selling off national parks. What was even more concerning was that Trump's lawyers didn't seem to understand the gravity of their request. They weren't just asking for immunity in specific cases, but for unchecked power to act without legal repercussions. Their arguments suggested they wanted not just immunity, but full, unchallenged authority to act as they pleased. Ownership of the dice, the little metal dog, and the bank. Trump wanted to completely change the game so that when you land on go to jail, you could collect $200 million in speaking fees instead. Throughout this legal ordeal, there were moments when even Trump's own appointed justices seemed to question, did I really sign up for this? They hadn't agreed to lifetime appointments on the highest court just to help turn the presidency into a 4-year dictatorship with immunity. These moments of doubt from Trump's appointed justices weren't just passing expressions, they were the first signs of what became an ultimate betrayal in Trump's eyes. Have you ever noticed how the people Trump expects the most loyalty from are often the ones who disappoint him the most? His Supreme Court picks didn't just fail to bow down to him, they actively joined the resistance against his immunity idea. Trump spent years bragging about his Supreme Court appointments, as if they were trophies on his wall. I appointed 3 justices, he'd shout at rallies, as if he'd just scored a hat trick in the most boring soccer match. These weren't just any appointments, they were supposed to be his get-out-of-legal-trouble-free cards, carefully selected loyalists ready to bail him out whenever needed. But something unexpected happened when his immunity case reached the highest court. Suddenly, those lifetime appointments came without the loyalty guarantee Trump had thought he purchased. It was like watching someone realize that the extended warranty they bought doesn't actually cover being a terrible president. The betrayal began with Justice Alito, who typically votes conservatively so reliably you could set your clock by him. Instead of supporting Trump's legal arguments, Alito started asking questions that made Trump's legal team squirm. This wasn't part of the plan. Alito was supposed to be a reliable ally in Trump's judicial army, not someone who remembered his oath to the Constitution, but the real blow came when Brett Kavanaugh entered the picture. Remember Kavanaugh, the man whose controversial confirmation Trump defended amid a storm of criticism? The justice who supposedly owed Trump big time for standing by him? Well, Kavanaugh wasn't exactly rushing to crown Trump emperor for life. Instead of throwing Trump a lifeline, He joined his colleagues in questioning whether presidents should really be able to do whatever they want without consequences. Even Amy Coney Barrett, Trump's final Supreme Court pick, piled on, pressing Trump's lawyers about the limits of presidential immunity. The woman Trump rushed onto the court faster than he rushes to the buffet line at Mar-a-Lago was now part of the resistance in his eyes. The betrayal was complete. Imagine Trump watching this unfold from his gold-plated TV room, probably mid-bite into a cheeseburger, as one justice after another questioned the very foundation of his immunity claims. You could almost hear him screaming at the television, "But I picked them. I chose them." Ketchup flying everywhere, the conservative justices sent a clear message: "Look, Donald, we may share similar political views, but we're not going to burn the entire legal system just because you don't want to face the consequences of your actions." It was the judicial version of "I love you, but I'm not helping you hide a body." What Trump failed to understand was that Supreme Court justices don't wear their fancy black robes to become someone's personal legal protection. They have this annoying habit of occasionally remembering that they work for the Constitution, not for whatever spray-tanned figure appointed them. Trump's shock was palpable. In his world, loyalty is a one-way street. You give it to him, and he gives you more demands for loyalty in return. The idea that these justices might prioritize the integrity of the legal system over his personal desires never occurred to him. It was like watching someone try to return a clearly worn outfit to the store, saying, "But I thought I could do whatever I wanted with this." The conservative justices weren't willing to compromise the entire foundation of American law just to keep Trump happy. Their message was clear: we're here to uphold the Constitution, not to be your get-out-of-jail-free card. Trump must have been crushed as he watched his appointees one by one question his claims instead of rubber-stamping them. And just when we thought the circus couldn't get any crazier, Chief Justice Roberts delivered the ultimate mic-drop moment. He shot down Trump's immunity argument by comparing it to a completely fake bill, fooling absolutely no one. It was like watching someone try to convince a teacher that their dog ate their homework when everyone saw them throw it in the trash. Meanwhile, Trump reacted exactly as expected, by throwing a digital tantrum. He insisted that presidents must have full immunity to properly function, claiming that in his twisted reality, presidents could only do their jobs if they were allowed to break any law they wanted. It was like saying you can only drive properly if you're allowed to ignore all traffic lights. The message from America's highest court was crystal clear: nobody gets to play king, not even a pouting ex-president.